Hello everyone, this is Nitesh, and for this week, we're not going to be doing a game review. Last week was E3, and I really kind of feel like I really should give my impressions of what came out of that. So, by the way, I don't know how well this is going to turn out. I'm using a different camera, not my webcam, and I'm just using the microphone that's on that. Just want to see how well that works, so just bear with me. So, also, my voice has been dying like all day, so I have a cough drop in my mouth right now, so let's jump right in. A lot of people have been saying about E3 that in a lot of ways, Sony won. And, there's definitely an argument to be made there. Like, Sony hosted, all these great series. They showed Far Cry 4, Batman Arkham Knight, Metal Gear Solid 5, and the biggest thing, at least for me, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Now, Uncharted series is great. I do kind of wonder if they peaked a little early with Uncharted 2, just because that was easily one of the best games of the last generation. Like, the entire generation. And, that was actually a huge problem with Uncharted 3. That, you really could not help comparing it to Uncharted 2. And it just didn't hold up, because Uncharted 2 was just that good. But, every Uncharted game has been very good, and I'm really looking forward to Uncharted 4. Like, they showed this very brief trailer, but it was gorgeous. Like, seriously, it was a beautifully done trailer. And if that is the sort of graphical quality they're bringing, they've got that. They've got this. But, a lot of people were saying that Sony really won. But I'm a little less certain about that. Frankly, I think Nintendo won. And to really properly understand that, you guys should go, I'll put an annotation somewhere here, to my Mario Kart 8 review, because in that review I talk about, some of the stuff Nintendo has had to deal with. And, frankly, the biggest problem with the Wii U is that it didn't really have much of a buzz. It didn't really have killer apps that people would just be like, yes, it is definitely worth picking up this system because of these games. It didn't really have that until just recently, where you could count Mario Kart 8 as that. I wouldn't really, because Mario Kart 8 is really just kind of like the last straw of that decision, but you're still buying it for all the games. Now, frankly, Nintendo had the biggest list of games on display. And, frankly, there's a new Star Fox game coming out. There's Mario Party 10. this new thing called Mario Maker, which not completely certain what exactly that is. I didn't get a chance to see anything about that, but it sounds like definitely something that is going to sell really well. The biggest thing that came for the Wii U, they did this brief trailer of the next Zelda game. And I mean, I've always said about the Wii U, whatever problems it might have with its launch, they will be solved when it gets its own Zelda game. And you look at this trailer, it's like, yeah, that is gonna sell. That is going to sell these systems. People are going to buy Wii U's just to play this game. It looks amazing. They're going with a more cel-shaded, stylized graphics plan, however you want to call that. And instead of the typical dungeon crawling, just go this way Zelda, they stated that they're going to make this a lot more open-ended. It's going to be a lot more, okay, here's the problem. Now, how are you going to deal with that? Which way do you want to approach this? And that was a big thing that they specified. You could, like, go around a situation and approach it from a different direction. Like, if you would be stepping into this jungle clearing with, like, a bunch of enemies, you can, like, kind of go around them and get the jump on them. And, you know, frankly, that is going to be a great game, you know. The last Zelda game they actually made, as opposed to just porting, I think that was Skyward Sword, where, you know, I was really looking forward to that, because it was kind of like what I could tell they were trying to do with Twilight Princess, with the sword controls. I definitely like what they were trying to do there, but, you know, I kind of got bored with it. My brother played a bit more of it, and he still got bored with it. So, but this looks really good. Speaking of Zelda, there's also Hyrule Warriors, which is basically a Dynasty Warriors sort of game set in the Legend of Zelda universe. And, you know, frankly, that's gonna be pretty cool. You know, leading Link against hordes of enemies. You know, that is gonna be cool. And I don't even really like Dynasty Warriors sorts of games. I just find them boring after a while. But a Legend of Zelda based one, that's got my attention. But yeah, they're basically hitting all of their big properties. You've got Zelda franchise, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which seems a little intriguing. There's a remake of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Mario Maker, whatever that is. There's Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. There's Yoshi's Woolly World. And then there's a new Star Fox game. You know, this is basically what the Wii U should have had at launch. This is what would have, you know, if this is what they led with the system, they wouldn't have a lot of the problems they have. Another game that got a lot of attention, Bayonetta 2. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't really get a lot out of Bayonetta 1. It's not a big deal, it's just that, like, I was playing it and I was just thinking, Devil May Cry? This just kind of makes me thinking Devil May Cry. So, you know. But, moving on to Microsoft. Microsoft had, you know, they had a few things, but I'm not completely certain just what stuff I'm really looking forward to. Like, Quantum Break was a game they announced, and they were really talking up its plot. You know, they were saying, like, apparently they spoke to scientists working at the CERN particle accelerator to make sure they're getting their science right. Apparently, it's going to tie in very closely with this one TV show that's going to be starting, and, like, kind of both ways. Certain things that happen in the game are going to affect the world in the show. Certain parts of the show can help you figure out how to handle parts of the game. You know, I'm kind of interested in that because I kind of want to see just what they make out of that. There was also the game Sunset Overdrive, which honestly just looks like a lot of fun. You know, that just looks like it's going to be a fun game to play. It's like, you take the typical shooter gameplay stuff, and this game is all about amping up the speed to it. And, you know, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun to play. Yeah, they could mess it up, but I kind of think there's enough buzz about that game that they're gonna want to try to do it right. But there's also Fable Legends. I'll be honest, Fable is kind of... there were some good points, there's some bad points. One thing that kind of annoyed me is that, you know, they would change your appearance depending on your in-game morality, which I'm not strictly against, but they made evil characters look really stupid. Like, I was playing very anti-heroic in Fable 2. Like, Fable 2, the magic was a little overpowered, and like, you could set rent for places you were renting out. I set my rent really high so I could always afford stuff. And, you know, as a result, my character ended up looking really just weird. Like, it had the glowy veins, it had the, like, horns, and it was... that part of it was just always stupid. But anyway, actually talking about the game in question here, Fable Heroes seems like something I might have a little fun with and then just move on from. It's basically just a multiplayer game. You know, so it kind of really depends on how many of my other friends are playing. If I'm playing with a bunch of other people, yeah, it'll probably hold my interest. But if not, I'm probably just gonna get bored and move on. But in terms of other games for Xbox and Microsoft. There was this game called D4. And basically you play as this private investigator. You find your wife murdered, and you kind of jump back and forth through time to figure out who did it and how you can stop it. And, you know, a game like that, the plot is going to be major. And I really want to see what they make out of that. So, there's also The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. Now, I never really got into the Witcher games. Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, Witcher, I should get around to playing that at some point. Oh yeah, Witcher, people have told me it's a pretty good game. But I never actually got around to playing it. Now, Witcher 3. I've heard a lot of anticipation about that game. And the thing is, I can't really check it out because I know absolutely nothing about the franchise. So I would basically be starting off like way into the story. So, you know, I can't really do that. But another thing that got some attention at E3, Project Spark. Now, I've mentioned this on this channel before. Project Spark is basically, it's a game development game. Basically, you're there building up the levels, populating them with friends and enemies, and, you know, it does a very good job of, like, not leaving you high and dry there, like an actual game engine would. Like, I've played around with Unreal Engine and Unity, and it's basically all, like, there's not a lot of support there for someone who's just going at it casually. You know, those are not meant to be games in themselves. They're supposed to be professional tools to develop these games. And with Project Spark having an emphasis on itself as a game, it manages to do a lot more. So, the one thing that I haven't quite figured out, and anyone who sees this and who has played it, looks like I'm just shrinking there. Anybody who has seen stuff about this, played it, feel free to let me know anything in the comments and stuff. But I got to a point where I was building out my world, and all of a sudden the building just stopped. I saw on the gauge thing, like, it was full. The problem is, I can't figure out how to fix that. You know, honestly, I don't have that much in my game. Like, there isn't a lot of space covered by the world I made. So, I'm kinda not really sure what exactly is going on there. I don't know, but I am hoping to get back to that once I figure out how to really do that. You know, last time I was playing, I figured out how to set it so that if I equip a crossbow, I can switch to first-person mode. And, you know, that's a pretty fun thing to just kind of play around with. And that's really what Project Spark is for. So, the other big thing that really had my interest was from Square Enix. We had Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider is supposed to be a sequel to the Tomb Raider reboot, and, you know, the quality of that game, that's gonna be good. I am calling it right now. Rise of the Tomb Raider is gonna be good. Now, there's also Nosgoth for the PC. It's a multiplayer game. I've seen some like first looks at it, and it's set in the Legacy of Kain universe. Now, these games went away far too soon. Really, that was a great series, and it really sucks that we haven't seen anything from it. You know? So, Nosgoth, I'm definitely going to be trying that out. Like, I'm really hoping it doesn't have this really stupid subscription model or anything. Honestly, it would be great if that was a free-to-play game so that I could just sit there, play it, just enjoy it without having to worry about, well, I only got a few weeks left. I'm hoping to just enjoy that game. Then we've also got Tales of Xillia 2, which, you know, I knew that was coming. And Tales of Hearts R? Meh. That is on the PlayStation Vita, which so far doesn't have a lot that really has my interest. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see. So, there's also Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which I got Persona 4 Arena, and it was a little too easy. Like, it was too easy to just stunlock people until I just win. And so, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, I'm not sure how many other characters they've added to that, but that would basically be the only reason I would really check it out. There's Persona 4 Dancing All Night, that's stupid, moving on. Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth for the 3DS. That actually looks pretty good. You know, the story mode for Persona 4 Arena, it basically ended with the team from Persona 4 getting a chance to meet the team from Persona 3. The team from Persona 3 is like professional shadow hunters now. And they're like, no, don't worry, we got this. Just move along. Group from Persona 4 is just, nah, we're gonna get involved. So, it's basically one of those things where I really want to see where that goes. And from what I have seen, Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth is kind of an extension of that. Although, there's characters who are dead who are showing up in the trailer, so let's see how that turns out. Now, there's also a lot of stuff that, you know, I saw it, and it just kind of made me think, why? Why is this at E3? Stuff like Sword Art Online, Hollow Fragment. Wasn't there already a Sword Art Online game, and didn't a lot of people not really care? Now, Dead Rising 3 for the PC. Why is that here? Dead Rising 3 has been out for a while. Corpse Party for the PC. I played Corpse Party on the PSP, and admittedly, it's good until you reach one point where it's just so frustrating trying to figure out how to get through it, because the game tells you nothing. On the Microsoft side, they were talking about a remake of the game Phantom Dust. You guys remember Phantom Dust? Yeah, didn't think so. This is a game that had no attention. It wasn't that great. It wasn't that popular. Honestly, why is it getting a remake? Like, it doesn't make sense to be remaking that game. Oh, here's some stuff that I completely missed when I was first figuring this out. Mirror's Edge 2. Mirror's Edge, in case you guys didn't hear about it, it was this first-person parkour simulator. Like, it wasn't just a simulator, you know, it had a plot and everything, but it was really good, because, you know, it had a first-person view of some really intense movement going on, and, you know, on one hand, people who are really vulnerable to, like, vertigo and stuff, they kind of have a rough time with it, but that was a really well-done game. Star Wars Battlefront for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. They're remaking that game. That is awesome. You know? That was such a great game, and it was like 2 generations ago. It's about due for a remake. Mass Effect 4. No, like, release info about that, just that it's coming. And, you know, they have a little bit they have to make up to the fans, you know? There was so much outrage about the ending of Mass Effect 3 that, you know, the first thing a Mass Effect 4 is going to have to do is make that up to the fans. So, then there's those games, stuff like Halo 5, Forza, Horizon 2, you know, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Battlefield Hardline, Borderlands the pre-sequel, Civilization Beyond Earth. They're all games that certain people are just gonna love. I know my dad is gonna probably be pre-ordering Forza Horizons 2, because he's really big in racing games. And, you know, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Battlefield Hardline, those don't need to do any advertising. Those are just, the fans are gonna get it, and, you know, a lot of other people will not. So, and, you know, it's the same way with the Halo games. I'm not a huge Halo fan, so there's not really anything there that has my interest. People who are huge Halo fans are gonna be, like, waiting with bated breath. Anyway, there's my take on E3 2014. Next week, we'll be getting back to just the normal reviews content. Overall, I would say you can argue Sony won, you can argue Nintendo won. I think the people who really won with this E3, gamers. This is Nitesh. Keep enjoying the videos and subscribe to help the channel and see more.